Is Zos racist? Well, let's find out. In today's video, we're going to cover the race changes that are meant to come out in the next patch. So, it's Johnny here from JTK Gaming, and once again we are on the PTS testing. It has been a while, but finally sucked it up and downloaded that 70 gig file, and to my amazement, it only took about 10 hours, you know, not too bad for our old Aussie internet. But anyway, yeah, we'll go over the race changes. Zos has basically decided they're going to overhaul the whole race system and change basically every single race in basically every single way. The first race passive on every race hasn't been changed, so just because I don't add a mention in this video, they are still there. I'm just not going to talk about them because they haven't been changed. And today we'll go over half the races: High Elves, Wood Elves, Dark Elves, and Ogonians. The video would just be an hour long if I had to go through all the races in one video, so we're going to break it up, and then I will be doing a third video where, unlike in these ones where we'll be comparing them to their current selves, we'll compare them to each other and kind of work out which one is best for you in different situations. So we'll go over healing, DPS, and those kinds of things for PvP. Hopefully someone else out there can cover the PvE stuff, but we will be doing the PvP stuff. So I guess without any more chit chat, let's get into my favorite race, the Lizard Master race. Well, I'm not too upset. I was pretty upset on the weekend, but on Tuesday they made some updates to the PTS, and basically every race got buffed from their nerfs. So they're still all nerfed, but they're not as bad as what it was in most situations anyway. So Lizard's first passive was gain 3% max magic and restore 4,600 health, magic, and stamina when you drink a potion. That has now been changed to increase max magic by 1,000 and restore 4,000 health, magic, and stamina. So this was 3,600, I believe, and was up to 4,000 on the changes on Tuesday. So this is different to what you've seen, that's why. The next one was gain 9% max health and 1,400 poison and disease resistance. Also, but now that has been changed to increase max health by 1,000 and disease resistance by 2,310. So basically losing poison resist, but you're gaining more disease resist. And on top of that, you're becoming immune to the disease status effect. Next, Life Mender. Increase your healing done by 6%. Now this was 4% before the updates on Tuesday. So for the ones that don't know, previously it was 5% healing done and 5% healing received. So as far as outgoing healing, it's a buff, and self-healing, it's a nerf. But let's break this down into, you know, a little bit more, you know, exactly what have we gained and lost here. So basically, as far as your resource gain when you have a potion, we're losing 620 from all resources. So a bit of a nerf there, but I don't think it's a big enough a nerf to make a massive impact. I don't think people are going to notice this dramatically, and probably if someone didn't know that this got changed, they probably wouldn't even realize. So yes, it probably needed to be done. And did they do it right? I think they did. Before Tuesday, I think it was too far. I think this is just right. 3,600, so that's basically 1,000 off, I think was too much. But this, I think, is right in the sweet spot. So the next one was 9% health. So before, if you had 25k health, this passive would have gave you 2,250 health. So you are losing over 50% at 25k health, which is pretty fucking bad as it is. But as a Blazing Shield Templar, you're losing probably 70%. Like, you know, like, that's a crazy nerf. You're losing a lot of health here. But for the average person like me, it's not gonna hurt us heaps. But definitely a massive nerf to Blazing Shield or any Templars, any Ogonians that are tanks out there with higher health. So the next one was the change to the life mender, which basically is now a flat 6% increase to healing, which is a 1% up on outgoing healing. So for a healer, you're actually getting buffed because you're doing 1% more healing to everyone else around you, but you're losing 4% self-healing. So we're definitely, between the health and the healing, self-healing nerf, we're definitely going to see Ogonians not as tanky as what they used to be. Now this was 4% before Tuesday, so they really hit this hard, and this, I wasn't happy. As you can see, they took it too far. But I think the 6% is in a nice sweet spot. I would have much preferred them just to have kept it at, say, 4% outgoing healing, 4% incoming healing. I would have preferred that, but this isn't as bad as what it could have been. Now, the last change is losing the poison resist, which I think I would have much preferred to kept this passive as it was. I think extra disease resistance isn't as good as losing or keeping the poison resist. I think the, what is it, 700, 800 increase to it is nice if you're taking a lot of disease damage, but I think there's a lot more poison out there than there is disease. And you're also getting the immune to disease status effect, which I guess is nice. And I overall, I don't think this is going to make that big of a difference out there. I think it's the other stuff that we talked about that is going to make a big difference. And the 3% max magic, so at 40k magic, you're losing 1200 magic. So say if you had 38k magic, you're basically not losing or gaining anything. If you had under that, it's a buff. If you had over 38 or so k, it's a nerf. Not really there or here. That one's just, you know, much the same. So let's sum it up. So they now get 4k stam, magic, and health when you have a potion. They now get 6% healing done, 1k health, and 1k magic, and also 2,310 disease resist, along with the immune to disease resist, status effect. I'm happy, as I said, with the changes after Tuesday. I think that Zos did a good thing there. Because I wasn't happy. I really, really wasn't happy. I think with what Zos said on the patch notes about, you know, they wanted to bring Ogonians back down to kind of the level where every other race was. I feel like they kind of did that, but at the same time they nerfed all the other races in a very similar way. So I feel like Ogonians are still going to be really good choice for a PvP build. And that being said, I think there's going to be some challenges for that kind of PvP master race, magic master race kind of choice. because the changes to some of the other races are going to make it very interesting. So that being said, let's go over some of those other changes to some of the other races, and let's start with Wood Elves. Wood Elves. So they used to get a 20% stamina recovery. Now this is an increase. Now it is an increase to your stamina recovery by 258. Now this kind of blew me away because you'll see in a minute when I break this down. I kind of just. Anyway, you'll see in a minute. Let's go over the others. So gain 6% max stamina and 1485 poison and disease resistance. So that's what they did have. Now it is increased max stamina by 2000 and your poison resistance by 2310, and you are also immune to the poison status effect. So basically the opposite to the Ogonian. These guys are losing the disease resist, but they're gaining poison resist and also the immune to the poison status effect, which is nice because, as I said, there's more poison and disease out there than, in my opinion. Anyway, moving on. Stealthy was reduced detection radius by 3 meters and increased damage done in stealth by 10%. And this is now increase your stealth detection radius by 3 meters, but after you roll dodge, you gain 20. This was 20% movement speed for 3 seconds, but on Tuesday it was changed to 10%, but they added a bonus physical and spell penetration of 1500 for 3 seconds, I believe. So yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, this is crazy, you know, they got rid of movement speed, now they're adding it back. 20% was a bit ridiculous. And I think this is better anyway, 10%, and then the spell and physical penetration. I'm going to say this straight away. It feels like a lot of these changes to races have been done purely for PvP. And I haven't gone over kind of the ones that I haven't covered in this video as in depth as I have for this, but it feels so far that they've been purely made for PvP, which makes me so happy because I am so sick of just the PvP just copying whatever, you know, the changes that are done primarily for PvE, and then they think about PvP. Contrary to belief that PvEers have, but, you know. So the breakdown of this is, and this is kind of what I was saying, I didn't mean to do this, but I did do this, and it's pretty damn cool. So 21% to 258 stamina recovery. The breakdown of this is, so let's say the average stamina recovery is 1600 buffed. So 21% of that would be 336. But if we add 10% recovery from our CP and 20% from our potion buffs to the 258 that we now get, 30% on top of that would be 78. So 78 plus 258 is what? 336. Which I thought was so cool. So I don't know if Zos did this in any way or form, but I found it funny that, you know, I picked an average recovery and then it just worked out to be the same. So it's basically 1600. If you have under that, it is a buff. If you have over it, it is a nerf. I wanted to do graphs to kind of show you where the point is, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You know, 1600, that's the point where it's even. Under is a buff. Over it is a nerf. That being said, do keep in mind, guys, that I'm not sure yet if the 258 goes to your base. So what I'm trying to say is I'm not sure if it will be buffed by CP and the potion buff. So that's something to keep in mind. We will work that out in the third video when we physically test these in game. So the next one is So you got 6% max magic. Now you have got. Hang on, where are we? I'm getting lost. Getting lost. So you did get 6% max stamina. Now you're getting 2,000 stamina. So let's say the average max stam is 35k. 6% of that would be 2.1k. So let's just have a look here. So yeah, so it's a tiny nerf. So say if you had 34, 33k stamina, this would be a buff. If you have over 34k, it is a nerf. Pretty self-explanatory. Once again, that 34k is kind of your break-even point. Under it, better. Over it, worse. And then, as I said, it's the opposite of the Ogonian. They get poison instead of disease. And then Stealthy, which was the increased movement speed, and the 1500 spell and physical pen. Funny thing is, I actually have a stamina build I've been working on, and this passive alone, the class itself will work really well, but this passive is going to work really well with my build that I'm working on. So it's kind of funny that this has happened the way it has, and I may even wait for this to go live, or I might do the build on the PTS with this passive, because I think it will go really well. When that video's out, I'll explain exactly what I mean, but I don't want to get into it because basically this video is long enough as it is. So let's sum it up. We have 258 stamina recovery, 2k max stamina, 2,310 poison resist, and 10% speed buff, and 1,500 spell and physical pen when you dodge roll for 3 seconds. So that's what you get. Not bad. I think it's quite cool. I think the changes are interesting. We only time will tell where this stacks up against the rest, and you'll have to wait for my next video, or you'll have to wait 2 videos time to see that. But anyway, let's move on. Dark Elves. Now, I think Dark Elves are sad. I think they've turned emo, and that they might be looking to end their lives, because I don't think Dark Elves are going to be very many people's choices after this. That being said, there is some use cases for this class. So they used to get 6% max stamina and magic. Now they get increase your max stamina and magic by 1875. I'm pretty sure this was increased on Tuesday. Resist Flame. Gain 3% max magic and 2079 flame resist. This has been changed to just straight out 2300 flame resist, and you're immune to the burning status effect. So you lose the max magic altogether and just get the flame resist. Then we have gain 7% flame damage, 2% frost and shock damage. This has been changed to a flat 258 weapon and spell damage. The breakdown of that is this. So say you used to get 6% stamina and magic, and let's say the average stam is 15k and the average magic pool is 35k. Obviously this is a magic build I'm talking about here. So you would have 900 stam and 2,100 magic. So you are losing some of your main stat, but you're gaining a basically double of your lower stat. So overall, you're getting more max stat than what you were before. That actually, if you account for the 3% max magic you lose, you're probably actually not getting that much more than what you was overall. But anyway, I digress. you are getting 3,750 combined resources with this passive. So yeah, overall you're getting more, but less of your main pool basically. Then the next one is, well, you lose 3% max magic, which, you know, of a 40k would be about 1200 magic, which, you know, actually, let's just have a quick look here. If we add 1200 onto that, hang on, let's have a look here. 1200 onto that. Yeah, so you're losing max stat. So just a quick maths in my head, you are losing. Even though you're gaining it there with that, you're still losing it because you lost that 3% max magic. But it's not much really. You basically it's the same, just a tiny nerf, but you're losing your main pool for your secondary pool. And then you become immune to the burning status effect, and you have 2,300. What do you call it? Flame resistance. So the last passive here is you used to gain 7% flame damage and 2% frost and shock damage. But now you gain it of 258 spell and weapon damage. Now this could be buffed like our resistance, like our recovery was before, if it goes to the base. So you could get the buff from your potions and, you know, all that kind of things. All the normal things that buff your spell damage. If this goes to the base, could be affected by that. So you could see over 300, over 300 here. But let's sum it up. Basically, they're getting 1,875 stam and magic, 258 weapon and spell damage, and 2,310 flame resist and immune to the burning status effect. So, as you can see, they're not getting much here. They are, but in a hybrid form. So, unless you want to run a hybrid build, this class is really not that great. So, you look at, so I'm magic DPS and I choose this class. Technically, all I'm getting is 1,800 magic and 258 spell damage, which, repaired to the others, is jack shit. If you look at it from a hybrid standpoint, then it's not too bad. I feel like this potentially may not be all we need for the hybrid DPS to work, because it doesn't work. And I'll get someone, oh, it does work, I play one. Well, good on you. I'm glad that you think it works. And it does work to an extent, but it isn't more effective than what just a straight magic DPS would be. And that's the problem I have. I can't speak. For like hybrid tanks and things like that, they do work. Hybrid tanks do work, and support toons do work as hybrids as well, very well. I have basically a hybrid Templar tank that I use to heal and tank in PvE. But for straight DPS, they don't work. And is this what we need? It may help. Personally, I think if they threw in 150 stam and magic recovery on top of what they're getting now, even if they got rid of the flame resist and just gave them 150 magic and stam recovery, then I think then they would be where they need to be to kind of potentially make a stam magic hybrid DPS build work. But in the meantime, this could be really good for a hybrid Templar tank. Seeing that, you know, or even a Blazing Shield hybrid. Anyway, when we do more testing, we'll test some of these scenarios that I talk about. But anyway, next up is the good old high elves, the ones that smoke too much weed and constantly don't know what's going on. Um, they really should have made like they got like a 10% increase to like food or something like that. That would have been so funny. It's like, yeah, yeah, they get extra health when they eat food because they're stoners. Get it? Anyway, so they used to get a 9% magic recovery, not 9% magic recovery. This has now been changed to, okay, this is a bit funny um, because of the changes that they made on Tuesday and stuff like that. What's on the PTS doesn't really make sense compared to what they say in game. So I think what they actually mean is the version that is in game, but I'll quickly talk about both and then we will work out in our third video exactly what they mean, but I'm pretty sure what is in game is the one that they mean. So, uh, basically on the patch notes, it kind of reads like 645 recovery will be added to your lowest max stat. So, say you have like 10k max stamina, that's you'll get 645 recovery added to that. In game, it specifies magic or stamina, so they don't do that on the patch notes. Because I was thinking a health regen build, this could be really cool. Run like, you know, just higher stamina magic pools and have health your lower pool. But no, it's stam and magic, and when you use a class skill, 645 of of either stam or magic will be added to the pool that is lowest. Um, that's the one I think they mean. So that being said, on the patch notes, it doesn't say anything about this either. In the game, it says you get a 5% reduction to damage reduction when you use a skill that has a cast time or a channel time. So that's in game, but not on the patch notes. Gift of Magnus was gained 10% max magic and has been changed to a flat 2000 max magic. So basically, this is kind of a 50% nerf. If you had 40,000 max magic, you would have got 4k. Now you're only getting 2k. If you had 20,000 max magic, then this is even. And if you had 15,000, it's a buff. Once again, the 20,000 is the break-even point for this. Then the next one was gain 4% fire, shock, and ice damage has been changed to increase your spell damage by 258. Once again, if it goes to your base, it could be more than that. The breakdown of those is you lose 9% magic recovery to gain what I just talked about, the 645. So if you divide this by 3, because for the ones that don't know, recovery is every 2 seconds. So you have 1,000 recovery, every 2 seconds you'll get 1,000 recovery. So divide this by 3 is what, 215 or something like that. Really average. Oh, it is 215, yes. So 215 basically isn't that high really. So, you know, your 9% recovery, 9% of actually, so yeah, this is actually kind of a buff, I guess, in some ways. It's not that much, but if you think about it, you're getting it to the pool that you actually really need it, then, and it's, we break it down into recovery for kind of the comparison, but it's not really so much, it's better than that because you're getting 3 times the amount in at once. So you don't have to wait 6 seconds to get it like you would recovery, you're getting it straight away. But it's got a 6-second cooldown. So, you know, that could be the difference between being able to dodge roll or CC break or get a shield up or something like that. So this is kind of interesting. And I could see myself playing a high elf in some situations. The next one is the 10% max magic. You know, 50% basically. Not much really. 50% nerf if you have 40,000. Not much else to say there. And the next one is they used to get 4% fire, shock, and ice, but now they get a flat 258 spell damage. So once again, if this goes to your base, this could be over 300, which I think in some situations it could have been a buff, um, especially like magic damage is different to elemental damage. So if you're doing a lot of magic damage, then that 4% buff to those weren't doing you any good. So you are getting buffed, but we'll have to do some actual testing to see how this affects the overall DPS numbers, and because I know that 4% was quite nice on top of like crushing shock and things like that, which was, you know, really nice. So the sum up of that is you are getting 645 stam or magic to whichever one is lowest with a 6-second cooldown. You are getting 2000 max magic and 258 spell damage. So that is basically the high elf, and that is the end of this video basically. If you have any questions, write it in the comments. And really funny, I've actually filmed this video twice now because for some reason the first video was corrupt. And what I find myself doing sometimes is I'll think I've talked about something, but I actually talked about it in the first video, not the second one. So if I have forgot to mention anything, please let me know in the comments. But I do work off script, well, mostly work off scripts now, so that should cut out me missing things. But, you know, this video is half the races, and we're only talking about the changes from themselves. The next video we'll do the other half, and then after that we'll do a comparison to each other, so we can work out which will be the best races for different situations and things like that. Also keep an eye out for my stam build that I have coming out, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.